The bruises blooming across her cheekbone should have been just another thing Kong Mai ignored. Another invisible detail on an invisible woman who sanitized his life twice a week. But when Patricia Powell turned her face away from the afternoon light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, something primal and possessive ignited in his chest. He'd built an empire on reading people's lies. The way she angled her jaw, the careful tilt of her head, the foundation 3 shades too light covering what she didn't want him to see. It told him everything. Who touched you? His voice cut through the silence of the penthouse, deadly calm, the same tone he used before eliminating problems. Patricia's hand moved instinctively to her face, fingers hovering over the purple shadow beneath carefully applied concealer. Nobody, Mr. Kong. I'm clumsy. My step closer. She stepped back. That small movement, that reflexive retreat from his approach, made his blood sing with violence. For the first time in 15 years of ruling Los Angeles's underworld with calculated precision, Kong Mai felt the edges of his control fraying. Don't lie to me, he said softly, and the world shifted between them. Patricia had cleaned Mai's Century City penthouse for 8 months without truly seeing him. He was a presence, expensive suits, the scent of bergamot and something darker, quiet footsteps that somehow commanded attention. She knew the important things. He paid triple the agency rate, lived like a minimalist despite obvious wealth, and expected invisibility. Invisibility was Patricia's specialty. 32 years of being overlooked had taught her how to move through spaces without disturbing the air. She made herself smaller in elevators, quieted her intelligence around men who needed to feel superior, perfected the art of being present without taking up space. A master's degree in social work meant nothing when you needed to eat. Pride meant nothing when the rent was due. Today, that carefully constructed invisibility shattered. She'd covered the bruise as best she could. Foundation, powder, a strategic sweep of her hair. Derek had been apologetic afterward, like always. Baby, you know I didn't mean it. You know how crazy you make me. Her supervisor at Elite Home Services would terminate her contract if she showed up looking unprofessional. She needed this job, needed the money. Needed the escape from the apartment she shared with a man whose love felt like slow strangulation. So Patricia went to work. The penthouse was silent when she arrived at 2 p.m., her usual time. Mai was never home during her Tuesday shifts, a small mercy she'd counted on today. She moved through the expansive living room, Los Angeles sprawling 63 floors below like a kingdom. His kingdom, she'd heard whispered. Kong Mai owned half of Koreatown's businesses and all of its secrets. The restaurants were fronts. Everything else existed in shadows. Patricia didn't care about his business. She cared about the $1,200 weekly check that gave her options. Slowly, quietly, she was building an escape fund, one shift at a time. She was reorganizing his bookshelf, philosophy, literature, Korean history, all meticulously maintained, when she heard the private elevator chime. Her heart stopped. He was never home early. You're still here. His voice came from behind her, accented English perfectly articulated, each syllable chosen with precision. Patricia turned slowly, keeping the left side of her face angled away from the afternoon light. I'm sorry, Mr. Kong. I'll finish quickly, Anne. Look at me. It wasn't a request. Kong Mai didn't make requests. She raised her eyes and watched his expression shift from distant professionalism to something sharp and focused and dangerous. He crossed the room in 3 strides, Italian leather shoes silent on marble floors. Up close, he was devastating. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that cataloged everything, black hair styled with casual perfection. His white shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, revealing collarbones and the dark edge of a tattoo that snaked up his neck, Korean characters she couldn't read. What happened to your face? His hand lifted toward her cheek, then stopped, hovering. Waiting for permission, Patricia didn't know how to give. Didn't know if she should give. I fell. The lie was clumsy, bitter on her tongue. I'm fine, really. Just clumsy. Mai's eyes narrowed. In 8 months, she'd never heard him raise his voice, but the quiet in him now was more terrifying than Derek's rage. You fell, he repeated, each word weighted with disbelief. Yes. Patricia straightened her spine, summoning the dignity that had carried her through worse humiliations. Down some stairs. At home. It looks worse than it is. He studied her with the intensity of a man accustomed to extracting truth from liars. His gaze traveled from the bruise on her cheekbone to the careful way she held her left arm, to the almost imperceptible swelling of her bottom lip. "You've been cleaning my home for 8 months, Patricia." Her name in his mouth sounded different, intimate, possessive. "In that time, I've noticed several things about you. You alphabetize books by author's last name. You hum Nina Simone while you work. You have a master's degree in social work from UCLA. Yet you're here, cleaning homes for women who don't see you." Patricia's breath caught. She hadn't known he noticed her at all. "I also notice," Mike continued, his voice dropping lower, "that you're far too intelligent to insult me with obvious lies. So let me ask you again, and think very carefully before you answer." He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell bergamot and expensive fabric and something else. Something that made her pulse quicken with a confusing mix of fear and something darker. "Who touched you?" The question hung between them like a blade. Patricia's carefully constructed walls trembled. She could see it in his eyes, not pity but fury. Cold, controlled, absolute. The kind of fury that didn't scream or posture. The kind that simply erased problems. "Mr. Kong." He corrected. "Say my name." "This isn't." She struggled to find words that wouldn't shatter what little professional distance remained between them. "This isn't your concern. I appreciate." His name. Mai's voice was silk over steel. "Tell me his name, Patricia. Tell me so I can erase him from existence." And in that moment, standing in the golden afternoon light of a penthouse owned by one of Los Angeles's most dangerous men, Patricia Powell realized 3 terrible truths. 1, she wanted to tell him. God help her. She wanted to give him Derek's name and watch what happened next. 2, Kong Mai had been seeing her all along. Really seeing her. In a way Derek never had. 3, she was in far more danger than she'd ever been before. Because the bruises on her face were from Derek's fists. But the way her heart was racing now, that had nothing to do with fear, and everything to do with the man standing close enough to touch, looking at her like she was something precious and breakable and his. 3 days of silence felt like 3 years. Patricia cleaned 4 other penthouses, smiled at clients who didn't see her, deposited checks that felt like blood money. The business card burned against her skin wherever she hid it. Bra, pocket, wallet. Derek noticed nothing. He never did, unless she gave him reason to. Thursday arrived with gray skies and the weight of choice. She wore her best dress, black, simple, the one she saved for funerals. It felt appropriate. Either way, something was dying today. Mai's penthouse was dark when she arrived. Empty, she thought, relief and disappointment twisting together. Then she saw the note on the marble counter, heavy cardstock, his handwriting precise as a blade. Dinner. 7 p.m., address below. Come as you are. The restaurant was the kind of place Patricia had only seen in magazines. Candles floating in glass, ceilings that soared, beautiful people speaking in hushed tones about things that mattered to no one. Mai sat at a corner table, backlit like a Renaissance painting. White shirt, black suit, that tattoo barely visible above his collar. When he saw her, something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, but close. "You came," he said, standing. "You didn't give me much choice." Patricia's voice was steadier than her hands. "I always give you a choice." He pulled out her chair. "Sit, please." The please surprised her more than anything. Dinner was theater. Mai introduced her to people who mattered. A city councilman, a gallery owner, someone who ran import-export with the kind of vagueness that screamed crime. Each time, "This is Patricia Powell, my consultant." Not maid. Not help. Consultant. She played along because she was good at playing roles. Smiled at the right moments. Asked intelligent questions. Watched Mai work the room with the efficiency of an apex predator. Every conversation calculated. Every gesture deliberate. "You're good at this," he said when they were finally alone, the table cleared except for expensive wine she barely touched. "At what?" "Pretending. At being exactly who you are." Mai leaned forward. "I have a proposition. I assumed you didn't bring me here for the pasta." His lips twitched. Almost a smile. "Quit elite home services. Work for me instead. Hostess for events like this. Legitimate salary. Triple what you're making now." There it was. The cage dressed as freedom. "Why?" Patricia asked. "Because you're intelligent, educated, poised. You're an asset." He paused. "And because I want you close." "This isn't charity," she said slowly, testing the words. "No, it's investment. His hand moved across the table, not quite touching hers. In something I've wanted for 8 months. Patricia's throat tightened. Before you answer, understand what you're accepting. His voice dropped, intimate and dangerous. This isn't just a job. It means you're under my protection. It means Derek will know you've chosen sides. It means there's no going back to invisible. Maybe I'm tired of invisible. Are you? His eyes held hers. Or are you just tired of being hit? The question landed like a slap. Patricia stood abruptly, chair scraping marble. Mai stood too, blocking her exit without touching her. I'm sorry. That was true, she finished. It was true. And I hate that it's true. They stood there, the air between them crackling with all the things they weren't saying. I need to know something, Patricia said finally. What do you get out of this? Really? Mai's hand lifted to her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone where the bruise had faded to yellow-green. You. I get you. You don't even know me. Then let me learn. The drive home was silent, Mai's driver navigating LA's arteries while they sat in the back seat, carefully not touching. Then Mai's hand found her knee, warm and possessive and somehow gentle. I know what you think this is, he said quietly. But I'm not buying you. I'm investing in something that already belongs to me. You just don't know it yet. Patricia should have been offended, should have recognized the red flags waving like surrender. Instead, she placed her hand over his. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Yes. Mai's fingers threaded through hers, and the touch felt like a contract signed in skin. Good, he said. Because I need you tomorrow night. Another event. Political fundraiser. His grip tightened fractionally. We're something that makes them remember you're mine. Patricia's breath caught at the possessiveness in his voice, and at her body's response to it. When the car stopped at her building, Mai didn't let go immediately. Patricia. His voice was velvet over steel. If he touches you tonight, he won't. If he does, I have your number. Mai raised her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles like a promise or a threat. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., I'll send a car. Patricia nodded, slipped out into the night, felt his eyes on her until she disappeared into her building. Inside the apartment, Derek was waiting. Shower-wet hair, apologetic smile, flowers dying in a vase. Baby, he said. Where were you? I was worried. Patricia looked at him. Really looked, and felt nothing but the weight of Mai's card in her purse and the ghost of his lips on her hand. Working, she said. I was working late. Derek's eyes narrowed. You smell like expensive cologne. And Patricia realized with crystal clarity that she'd just declared war. The dress arrived at 5 p.m. in a box that cost more than her rent. Midnight blue silk, cut to devastate. Shoes that could kill. A note in Mai's handwriting. Armor for battle. Patricia stared at herself in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman looking back. This wasn't the maid who made herself small. This was someone dangerous. Derek hadn't come home. 3 days of cold silence, his punishment for the working late lie he didn't believe. Patricia should have been relieved. Instead, she felt the pressure building like a storm about to break. Mai's car arrived at 6:45. She was ready. The fundraiser was political theater. Politicians rubbing shoulders with the people who actually ran the city. Patricia entered on Mai's arm and felt every eye track their movement. Breathe, Mai murmured against her ear. You're perfect. She watched him work. Watched how conversations shifted when he spoke, how deals formed with a nod, how power moved through the room like electricity seeking ground. This wasn't just a crime lord. This was an architect of empires. You're staring, Mai said hours later, cornering her near the silent auction tables. I'm trying to figure out who you really are. And what have you concluded? That you're terrifying. Patricia's pulse hammered. And that I can't stop watching you. Mai's hand found the small of her back, pressure that felt like claiming. Come with me. He led her down marble steps to the venue's wine cellar. Stone walls, dim lighting, bottles worth more than cars. The party noise faded to distant music. Mai, we should. He pressed her against the wall, not violent but inevitable. His hands framed her face, thumbs tracing her jawline. Tell me to stop, he said. Patricia couldn't. The kiss was nothing like Derek's. Derek kissed like he was taking something owed. Mai kissed like he was discovering something precious, consuming and careful all at once. His tongue traced her bottom lip and she opened for him, desperate in a way that should have terrified her. God, he breathed against her mouth. 8 months. 8 months of watching you wanting. Then why wait? Because you weren't ready. Because you needed to choose. His forehead pressed against hers. Tell me you choose this. Choose me. Patricia. The voice shattered everything. My moved like liquid violence, positioning himself between Patricia and the cellar stairs where Derek stood, red-faced and furious in a prosecutor's expensive suit. Derek. Patricia's voice shook. How did I find you? I'm a prosecutor, baby. I find people. His eyes were wild, locked on my. And you're Kong Mai. I know exactly what you are. Then you know, Mai said with deadly calm, that you should leave. Now. She's my girlfriend. Derek descended the stairs like a man with rights. We've been together 2 years. You think you can just take her? I think, Mai said, she's not property to take. She's a woman who makes her own choices. Patricia. Derek's voice turned pleading, the tone she knew preceded violence. Baby, come home. Whatever he's told you, whatever he's offered, it's lies. He's a criminal. I can protect you from men like him. The irony nearly made Patricia laugh. Derek, you need to go. Are you serious? His mask cracked completely. You're choosing this gangster over me? After everything I've done for you. Mai's hand moved inside his jacket, where Patricia suspected a weapon lived. But she stepped forward, putting herself between them. Derek, leave. Please. For a moment, she thought he might hit her right there. Might prove to everyone what he was. Instead, Derek's face went cold. Fine, he said quietly. Dangerously. But understand something, Patricia. He can't protect you from me. I am the law. His eyes shifted to Mai. And you touching her, taking her places, parading her around like some kind of prize, that's going to cost you. Both of you. He climbed the stairs, paused at the top. You're going to regret this. Both of you. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Mai immediately had his phone out, rapid Korean into the device. Instructions Patricia couldn't understand but recognized as protective measures. He's going to retaliate, she said numbly. I know. Mai turned to her, his hands gentle despite the violence coiled in his body. Patricia, listen to me. Whatever he does next. It's already started, hasn't it? The war you promised. Yes. He pulled her close and she let him. But wars are won by people who refuse to retreat. Are you with me? Patricia thought about Derek's face. The cold promise in his eyes. The years of carefully calibrated punishment. Then she thought about Mai's kiss. The way he looked at her like she was worth fighting for. I'm with you, she whispered. Mai's arms tightened around her, and Patricia felt his heartbeat against her cheek, steady as a war drum. Outside, sirens started wailing. And Patricia knew Derek had already made his first move. The police came at dawn. Patricia woke in Mai's guest room. He'd insisted she stay the night after Derek's threat, to the sound of authoritative knocking. Mai answered in silk pajama pants, bare-chested, the full extent of his tattoos visible. Korean characters flowing down his ribs, a dragon coiling around his shoulder. Patricia Powell? The detective held up a badge. We have a warrant for your arrest. The world tilted. On what charge? Mai's voice was ice. Theft. $50,000 worth of jewelry stolen from this residence. The detective's eyes were apologetic but firm. Ma'am, you need to come with us. Mai's lawyer arrived before they reached the station. By noon, the charges were dropped. Security footage mysteriously appeared showing the jewelry had never existed. Derek's fabrication was exposed, but not before Patricia spent 4 hours in a holding cell, photographed and fingerprinted like a criminal. Mai was waiting when she was released, his fury so controlled it felt like radiation. Get in the car. They didn't speak during the drive. Patricia's hands shook with adrenaline and humiliation and rage she didn't know how to process. Inside his penthouse, she finally exploded. Did you know he'd do this? No. Mai poured whiskey with steady hands. I anticipated violence. Legal warfare didn't. I underestimated him. Every time you help me, he escalates. Patricia's voice cracked. Your protection is making it worse. Don't you see that? So what's your solution? Go back to him. Let him hit you until one day he doesn't stop. Maybe I figure it out myself. Maybe I'm capable of. Of what? Mai's control finally slipped. Strategizing your way out of an emotional crisis? You're brilliant, Patricia, but you can't think your way out of a man who wants to hurt you. And you want to control me. How is that different? The accusation landed like a bullet. Mai set down his glass with careful precision. Because I'm asking permission. Because when you say no, I stop. His jaw tightened. He doesn't. Patricia sank onto his couch, adrenaline crashing into exhaustion. I don't need you to save me, Mai. I need you to help me save myself. There's a difference. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, teach me. What? Teach me the difference. Mai sat beside her, carefully not touching. Because all I know is elimination of threats. That's my language. Protection through power. But if that's not what you need, teach me what is. Patricia looked at him. Really looked. At the most dangerous man she'd ever met, asking her for instruction. I need agency, she said quietly. I need to be part of the solution, not just the thing being protected. Her voice broke. I need to not feel like I traded one prison for another, even if your cage is prettier. Mai flinched like she'd struck him. I'm not trying to cage you, he said finally. I'm trying to keep you alive long enough to be free. Then let me choose how. Even if your choice gets you hurt? Even then. Patricia met his eyes. That's what trust looks like, Mai. Letting someone make their own mistakes. He stood, paced to the windows, his reflection sharp against the city. I don't know how to do that. Every instinct I have says lock you somewhere safe, eliminate Derek, solve the problem. I know. Patricia joined him at the window. But that makes me another asset you own. And I won't be that. Not even for you. They stood in silence, the city sprawling beneath them. Okay, Mai said finally. We do this your way. Tell me what you need. Time. Space to think. And a promise. What promise? Patricia turned to face him. That you won't touch Derek without my permission. That whatever happens next, we decide together. Every line of Mai's body resisted. She could see the war in him. Control versus trust, protection versus autonomy. All right, he said, and the word clearly cost him. Together. But Patricia, you stay here. In my guest room. That's non-negotiable. It was compromise dressed as command, but Patricia recognized the effort it took. Deal. Mai's hand found hers, threaded their fingers together. He's going to come at us again. You know that. I know. And when he does, we handle it. Together. Patricia squeezed his hand. I'm not running from this anymore, Mai. From Derek or from you. Something shifted in his expression. Softened. You're terrifying, you know that? Good, Patricia said. Maybe I'm done being afraid. That night, lying in Mai's guest room with city lights painting the ceiling, Patricia heard him pacing in the master suite. Heard him speaking rapid Korean on the phone. Business that never slept. She should have been terrified. Should have run while she still could. Instead, she got up, padded down the hallway, knocked softly. Come in, Mai said, and his voice was tired in a way she'd never heard. He was sitting on the edge of his bed, phone discarded, head in his hands. Looked up when she entered, surprise flickering across his features. I can't sleep, Patricia admitted. And you're pacing like a caged animal. I'm trying to figure out how to protect you without controlling you. A bitter laugh. Turns out I'm not very good at it. Patricia crossed to him, stood between his knees, her hands finding his shoulders. You're learning, she said softly. We both are. Mai's hands came to her waist, holding her like she might disappear. Stay with me tonight. Just stay. Nothing has to happen. I just need to know you're safe. Patricia should have said no. Maintained boundaries. Protected herself from falling for a man who solved problems with violence. Instead, she climbed into his bed, and Mai wrapped around her like armor. Thank you, he murmured against her hair. For not running. Thank you, Patricia whispered back, for asking me to stay. Outside, the city hummed with danger. Derek was out there somewhere, planning his next move. But here, in this moment, Patricia felt something she hadn't felt in 2 years. Safe. Morning arrived with the smell of something unfamiliar. Breakfast. Patricia found Mai in his kitchen, bare feet and rolled sleeves, cooking with the same precision he applied to everything. Rice, eggs, kimchi, banchan she didn't recognize. You cook, she said, surprised. My grandmother insisted. Said a man who can't feed himself isn't a man. He plated food with careful attention. Sit. They ate in comfortable silence, the intimacy of shared morning routines. Patricia watched him move through his space and saw something beyond the crime lord. Someone with routines, preferences, a grandmother who taught him to cook. Tell me about her, Patricia said. Your grandmother. Mai's expression shifted, something soft breaking through. She raised me after my parents died. Brought me here from Seoul when I was 15. Worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. He stirred his coffee. She died thinking I was legitimate. Import-export, like I told everyone. Did she know what you really were? She knew I was surviving. That was enough. Mai's eyes found hers. What about your family? The question landed heavy. Patricia hadn't spoken to her mother in 3 years, since Derek convinced her that her family was toxic. Estranged, she said carefully. Derek was good at isolation. Made me choose between him and them. I chose wrong. You can call them. Now. Today. Mai's voice was firm. Whatever Derek said, that's over. You're not isolated anymore. The permission nearly broke her. Days blurred into routine. Patricia called her mother, cried through apologies, started rebuilding bridges. Mai worked from home, his office door open, checking on her like she might evaporate. They orbited each other carefully, magnets trying to maintain safe distance. On the 3rd night, Patricia couldn't sleep. Found Mai on his balcony, city lights painting his features in gold and shadow. Can't sleep either? He asked. She shook her head, joined him at the railing. Tell me something true. Something you've never told anyone. Mai was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. I've killed 3 men, he said finally. Personally. Not ordered. Did it myself. The first one, I threw up after. The 3rd one, I felt nothing. That's what scares me, Patricia. How easy it became. Patricia should have recoiled. Should have seen the monster he kept warning her about. Instead, she took his hand. Tell me why. First one was trying to kill my grandmother. Protection. His thumb traced her knuckles. Second was a rival who killed one of my men's kids. Revenge. He paused. Third was a man who trafficked women. That one was just justice. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just good at justifying violence. Do you regret it? The first one, no. The other 2, I regret that I had to. But I'd do it again. He turned to face her. That's who I am, Patricia. A man who's done terrible things for reasons that made sense at the time. You should be terrified. I am, Patricia admitted. But not because of what you've done. Then why? Because of how much I want you anyway. The confession hung between them. Because every time you touch me, I forget why falling for you is dangerous. Mai's hand came to her face, cradling her jaw. I've wanted you since the first day you walked into my penthouse. 8 months of watching you, wanting to touch you, knowing I shouldn't. Why shouldn't you? Because I contaminate everything I touch. Because you deserve better than a man with blood on his hands. His forehead pressed against hers. Because once I have you, I won't let go. And that should terrify you. It does, Patricia whispered. But loneliness terrifies me more. Derek terrifies me more. The idea of never knowing what this could be. That terrifies me most of all. Mai's control shattered. The kiss was desperate, consuming, tasting of whiskey and want. His hands mapped her body like territory claimed, and Patricia arched into him, months of tension finally breaking. Bedroom, Mai growled against her mouth. Now, before I take you right here. They barely made it. Clothes became obstacles removed with urgent efficiency. Mai's body was art and violence. Scars mapping a history of survival, muscles trained for destruction, hands that could kill holding her like porcelain. Tell me you want this, he demanded, poised above her. Say it. I want this, Patricia breathed. I want you. All of you. Even the darkness. Mai's eyes closed like she'd saved him. What followed was slow and intense, and nothing like Derek's mechanical possession. Mai learned her body like a language, every gasp and sigh catalogued, every response memorized. When he finally moved inside her, the connection felt like more than physical. Something fundamental shifting between them. After, wrapped in sheets in each other, Mai traced the fading bruise on her cheekbone. I've killed men, he said quietly. Ordered deaths. Run drugs, guns, money through the city. Built an empire on violence and fear. You should be terrified of me. I am, Patricia said again. But not because of your past. Then what? Because I'm falling in love with you. The admission tasted like truth and danger. And that means I could lose you. Lose this. That's what terrifies me. Mai pulled her closer, his heart steady against her ear. You won't lose me, he promised. I don't know how to give you up. They fell asleep tangled together, city lights painting patterns on the ceiling. At 3 a.m., Mai's phone shattered the peace. He answered in clipped Korean, his body going rigid. What is it? Patricia asked. Mai's expression was carved from stone. My organization. Theirs dissent. Questions about my judgment. About you being a distraction. Am I? A distraction. You're a revolution. He kissed her forehead, already pulling away, dressing with military efficiency. I need to handle this. Internal politics. It might get violent. Probably. He checked his gun with casual expertise that should have horrified her. Stay here. Don't answer the door for anyone. Trust me. Patricia sat up, sheet clutched to her chest. I'll come back, he promised. I always come back. Then he was gone, and Patricia was alone in his bed, the warmth of him fading from the sheets. She didn't sleep. Couldn't. Watched the city lights and wondered if this was her life now. Waiting for dangerous men to return from violence, hoping they came back intact. My returned at dawn, knuckles bruised, shirt torn, blood on his collar that might not be his. It's handled, was all he said. Patricia didn't ask what handled meant. Instead, she pulled him into the shower, washed the evidence of violence away, held him until his breathing steadied. This is my life, my said against her hair. This is what loving me looks like. Blood and waiting and never knowing if I'll come home. I know, Patricia said. And you're still here. I'm still here. But as they stood under the water, Patricia realized something that made her chest tight with fear. She wasn't afraid of Mai's darkness anymore. She was afraid of losing herself in it. Mai returned 3 hours later with blood under his fingernails he hadn't noticed. Patricia watched him pour whiskey at 6 a.m., his silence louder than explanations. This was the 4th night this week. Violence handled off-page, cleaned up, never discussed. How bad? She asked. Handled. He didn't look at her. That's not an answer. It's the only one you get. Mai's voice was flat, exhausted. This is what I do, Patricia. You knew that. I know. She stopped. Recognized the feeling creeping up her spine. The same smallness Derek demanded. Different cage, prettier bars. What? Mai turned, finally meeting her eyes. Nothing. I'm going to shower. His hand caught her wrist. Gentle. Possessive. Don't do that. Don't hide from me. I'm not hiding. I'm giving you space to. To what? To be the monster you signed up for. His grip tightened fractionally. You don't get to make me feel guilty for keeping you safe. Patricia pulled free. I didn't ask you to fight your entire organization for me. You didn't have to ask. Mai's voice dropped dangerous. You're mine. That means I protect you. From Derek, from my men, from anyone who thinks you're a weakness they can exploit. I'm not yours. The words came out sharper than intended. I'm not another asset you control. Mai went very still. What did you just say? You heard me. Patricia's heart hammered, but she held ground. Every decision we make, you've already made it. Where I stay, who I see when I leave this apartment. Because there's a prosecutor trying to destroy you. And you're suffocating me in the name of protection. Her voice cracked. I left one man who made me small. I won't become small for you too, Mai. Not even for safety. The silence stretched like wire. So what do you want? Mai's voice was silk over razors. You want to leave? Go back to that shelter life, minimum wage, looking over your shoulder. Maybe. Maybe I need to save myself instead of being saved. That's pride talking. Stupid, dangerous pride. It's my pride. My danger. My choice. Patricia grabbed her bag, started shoving clothes inside. I'm not your possession, Kong Mai. I'm a person. And I'm leaving. Mai moved fast, blocking the bedroom door. Not touching, just present. Immovable. Move, Patricia said. No. Mai. You think I'm like him? His voice broke on the words. You think I'm Derek with better resources. I think you love me the only way you know how. With control. Patricia's eyes burned. But I can't breathe in that love. And I won't apologize for needing air. Something shattered in Mai's expression. He stepped aside. Go then. Run to your shelter, your independence, your pride. His jaw tightened. But when Derek finds you, and he will, don't call me. Because I'm done watching you choose struggle over safety just to prove a point. The words landed like bullets. Patricia walked past him, each step feeling like tearing skin. Reached the elevator, pressed the button. Patricia. She didn't turn. I'll have someone watching. At a distance. You won't see them, but you'll be safe. I don't care what you want. Mai's voice was carved from ice. You can hate me for it, but I won't let you die to prove your independence. The elevator doors opened. Patricia stepped inside. 6 days, Mai said quietly. That's how long I'll wait. Then I'm coming to find you. The doors closed on his face. Patricia made it to the lobby before she started crying. The women's shelter smelled like industrial cleaner and broken promises. Patricia got a bed, a locker, a schedule. returned to invisibility like a comfortable coat that no longer fit right. Day 3. She missed Mai's coffee. His silence. The way he looked at her like she was worth killing for. Day 5. Derek's calls started. Blocked number. Voicemails dripping poison. Baby, I heard you left your sugar daddy. Come home. I forgive you. Day 6. Patricia woke knowing something was wrong. The feeling followed her to the parking lot after her shift at a diner that paid $12 an hour and treated her like furniture. Sunset painted everything orange and violent. There she is. Derek stepped from behind a car, and Patricia's blood went arctic. How did you? I'm a prosecutor, remember? His smile was wrong. I find people. That's what I do. Patricia's hand went to her phone. Derek moved faster, slapping it from her grip, glass shattering on pavement. We're going to talk, he said. About respect. About loyalty. About what happens to women who embarrass me. His hand closed on her arm, yanking her toward his car. Patricia fought. Screamed. Remembered every self-defense move from the shelter's training. Derek hit her once. Closed fist, professional precision. And the world tilted sideways. She heard tires squealing. A car door. Then Mai's voice, deadly calm. Take your hands off her. Now. Mai crossed the parking lot like death in a tailored suit. Derek's hand tightened on Patricia's arm, using her as shield. Stay back. I'm a prosecutor. You touch me, you're done. I'm already done. Mai's voice was a blade. The second you put your hands on her, we both knew how this ends. Patricia tasted copper, her lips split and bleeding. Watched Mai's face, saw the violence coiled in him, ready to spring. Mai, she tried to say. Don't. Derek shook her. Shut up. You did this. You brought this gangster into our lives. There is no our lives. Mai moved closer, each step measured. There's her life. And there's the mistake you're about to die for. You think I'm scared of you? Derek laughed, manic. I have the law on my side. I have connections. You're just. Mai moved. Fast. Brutal. Professional. He broke Derek's grip on Patricia, spun him, drove him face first into a car hood. The sound of Derek's nose breaking was wet and final. Mai! Patricia scrambled back, watching horror unfold. Mai pulled Derek up, only to drive a fist into his kidney. Then another. Clinical. Efficient. Each blow designed for maximum damage. Derek went down, gasping. Mai followed him down, straddling him, fists finding face over and over. Blood sprayed. Derek's arms came up. Weak defense against a man who killed for a living. Mai, stop. Patricia's voice cracked. You're killing him. Good. Another hit. Derek's eye socket crunched. That's the point. Patricia saw it then. The monster Mai kept warning her about. The man who solved problems with elimination. The darkness she'd been sleeping beside, pretending it was just shadows. If you kill him, you become exactly what he says you are. Mai's fist froze mid-strike. Blood dripped from his knuckles. Derek wheezed beneath him, barely conscious. You become the monster, Patricia said, voice breaking. And I can't love that man, Mai. I can't. Mai's breathing was ragged. His hand shook, still pulled back to strike. He hurt you, Mai said. Not to Patricia. To himself. Justification for murder. I know. And he'll pay. But not like this. Patricia moved closer, carefully. If you kill him, you lose yourself. And you lose me. Is that what you want? Mai looked at Derek, then at his own bloody hands. Something human flickered behind the violence. He deserves to die, Mai said. But his fist lowered. Maybe. But you deserve to be more than his executioner. Patricia knelt beside them. You told me you were the monster who eats other monsters. Prove you're also the man who chooses not to. Mai's jaw worked. Every instinct he had screamed, finish it. Patricia could see the war in him. Years of violence versus the possibility of something better. Slowly, Mai stood. Stepped back. Derek lay broken on asphalt, whimpering. Mai pulled out his phone, dialed. Police. 2847 Riverside. Man assaulted a woman. Witnesses saw everything. He paused. He's the prosecutor who's been stalking her. Derek Morrison. You'll want to send someone high-ranking. He hung up, turned to Patricia. His hands were shaking now, adrenaline crash or something deeper. I almost killed him, Mai said. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But you didn't. Patricia took his bloody hands in hers. That's the man I love. Sirens wailed in the distance. Mai pulled her close, careful of her injuries. I'm sorry. For everything. For trying to control you. 4. Later, Patricia whispered. We'll talk later. Right now, we deal with this. The police arrived. Witnesses from the diner corroborated Patricia's account. Unprovoked attack, brutal violence, clear self-defense by Mai, who pulled Derek off her. Derek was arrested, photographed with his destroyed face, rights red while blood dripped from his chin. Before they loaded him in the ambulance, Derek looked at Patricia. Through swelling eyes, voice thick with blood. This isn't over. Mai's arm tightened around Patricia. Yes, he said quietly. It is. Later, at the hospital while Patricia got stitches, Mai sat with his head in his hands. I would have killed him, he said. If you hadn't stopped me, I would have murdered him in that parking lot. I know. That doesn't scare you? Patricia touched his face, made him look at her. You scare me. Your violence scares me. But you know what scares me more? That you listened. That you stopped. That means you're not the monster you think you are. I'm not good, Patricia. No, she agreed. But you're trying to be better. That's enough. Mai kissed her forehead, gentle despite his bloody knuckles. I love you, he said. Even if I don't know how to do it right. Then we'll learn together. Outside, dawn broke over Los Angeles. Inside, two broken people held each other and hoped that love was stronger than their damage. The courtroom smelled like old wood and new lies. Patricia sat in the witness box, Derek's attorney circling like a shark. 3 weeks since the parking lot. Her lip had healed. The bruises had faded. But she could still taste blood when she closed her eyes. Ms. Powell, isn't it true that you were involved in a romantic relationship with Kong Mai while still dating my client? Patricia's lawyer objected. Sustained. But the seed was planted. She found Mai in the gallery, back row, expensive suit, present despite every reason not to be. His criminal reputation was being dissected, used to discredit her. But he showed up anyway. That meant everything. Ms. Powell, please describe what happened on the evening of October 15th. Patricia took a breath. Told the truth. All of it. The years of escalating violence Derek disguised as love. The isolation. The fear. The moment in the parking lot when she thought she'd die. Derek's attorney tried to break her. Suggested she was lying for Mai's money. Implied she was a gold digger, a manipulator, a woman who weaponized accusations. Patricia didn't break. Your Honor, she said clearly. I have a master's degree in social work. I specialized in domestic violence intervention. I knew every red flag, every warning sign, every statistic. And I still ended up with a man who beat me. Her voice steadied. That's how abuse works. It doesn't care how educated you are. It finds you anyway. The courtroom went silent. Mai testified next. Described the attack he witnessed. Under cross-examination about his criminal activities, he didn't flinch. Yes, I've broken laws. No, I won't detail which ones. But I've never hit a woman. I've never used my power to isolate someone I claim to love. Derek Morrison is a coward who hid behind his badge while terrorizing someone half his size. Derek's attorney tried to object. The judge allowed it. The verdict came 3 days later, guilty. Aggravated assault, stalking, evidence tampering in the jewelry theft frame-up. 18 months, eligible for parole in 12. Not enough. Never enough. But something. Patricia stood outside the courthouse, Mai beside her. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Ms. Powell, what's next for you? She looked at Mai. He squeezed her hand. Law school, she said. Domestic violence advocacy. Making sure other women have the resources I didn't. And you, Mr. Kong? Any comment on your relationship? Mai's jaw tightened. Then, I'm the luckiest man alive. That's my only comment. In the car, Mai's driver gave them privacy. Thank you, Patricia said. For coming. For testifying. For letting the world see who you are. For you. Mai's thumb traced her cheekbone. I'd burn down the world. I know. But I'm glad you're learning not to. He laughed, surprising them both. You've domesticated a crime lord. My lieutenants think I've gone soft. Have you? Completely. Mai pulled her close. And I don't regret it. Patricia kissed him, tasting hope and future and the possibility that broken people could build something whole. Take me home, she whispered. Already there, Mai said. You've been home since the first day you walked through my door. Morning light painted their apartment gold. Their apartment. Patricia insisted on contributing rent, equal partnership, or nothing. Mai pretended it mattered, deposited her checks, paid her tuition without mentioning it. Some battles weren't worth fighting. Patricia sat at the dining table, case law scattered around her laptop. First year of law school was brutal. Beautiful. Everything she'd needed. Mai emerged from the bedroom, coffee in hand, Korean newspaper tucked under his arm. Domestic scene that would have been unimaginable a year ago. Big day, he asked, kissing the top of her head. Presentation on power dynamics in domestic violence. Basically living my thesis. You'll be brilliant. He sat beside her, close but not crowding. Still learning the balance. Patricia studied him. The tattoos she knew by touch now. The darkness that hadn't disappeared but had learned boundaries. The hands that could kill, carefully turning newspaper pages. Do you miss it? She asked. The life you walked away from? Mai considered. I miss the certainty. The simplicity of elimination over negotiation. He looked at her. But that man couldn't have you. So no. No regrets. Even when I'm impossible? Especially then. His hand found hers. You taught me that love doesn't have to be violent. That strength can be soft. That I'm more than the worst thing I've ever done. Patricia's throat tightened. You taught me that accepting help isn't weakness. That I don't have to save myself alone. That my pride was killing me. They sat in comfortable silence, two damaged people who chose healing over destruction. I have therapy at 2, Mai said. Dr. Chin thinks I'm making progress. Are you? I didn't threaten anyone this week. Apparently that's growth. His smile was wry. Patricia laughed. Actual, genuine laughter. When had that become easy again? Hours later, she stood before her law class, presenting research that came from lived experience. Mai sat in the back. He'd rearranged business calls to be there, watching her command the room. After, in the parking lot, Patricia was quiet. What's wrong? Mai asked. Nothing. Everything. I'm terrified. Of what? Failing. The women who come after me, who need what I'm building. Her voice wavered. What if I'm not strong enough? Mai turned her to face him. You survived Derek. You survived me trying to cage you. You're testifying in court and going to law school and rebuilding yourself from nothing. His hands framed her face. You're the strongest person I know. You taught me that strength can be soft. You taught me that love doesn't have to be violent. They stood there, city noise around them, neither leading, both moving forward. Take me home, Patricia said. Already there, Mai replied, and meant it. Because home wasn't a place anymore. It was the space between them, messy and complicated and real. It was choosing each other, every day, despite the damage. It was learning that love doesn't erase darkness, but learns to hold space for both light and shadow. It was two broken people building something whole, one careful choice at a time. Patricia took his hand. Mai threaded their fingers together, and they walked forward into whatever came next together.